Good morning. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Tiffany Anderson, the minister of this church, and my pronouns are she and her. I am so glad that you could be here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are visiting for the first time today, you are especially welcome. Dottie over there at the visitors table by the door can help you get oriented if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available during the service for children ages 6 and younger. Please be aware that our services are filmed and posted on YouTube, and there's a chance you might be seen in our YouTube videos. If you want to make sure that you are not on camera, please sit in the perfume-free zone over here or the section over here closest to the back table in the library. Our e-news got mixed up this week, so if you came here for Coming Out Day, we hope you'll come back the second Sunday in October for that service. Yay, technology! Today, we are exploring the Unitarian Universalist value of equity. Our value statement explains equity in this way. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. And there are many ways that we flourish. And one of those ways is in building communities of support, where our inherent dignity and worthiness is honored through the ups and downs of life, which is the subject of our opening hymn. We laugh, we cry. This is hymn number 354 in the thicker gray hymnal. We are singing the first and the fourth verses. Please rise with us in body or spirit for hymn 354. Of that ladder. Wash out your paintbrush, shake the sand out of your shoes, get up off your muddy knees, and give the garden a morning off. Fold up your newspaper, turn off the coffee pot, close up your calendar already filled with dates and times and people and places that claim you. This church is ready for you to fill its rooms, to create its spirit, to generate its warmth, to kindle its light. This church is ready for you to make community, to create beauty, to create justice, to serve its ideals. This church is ready for you to be here, to honor our past, invigorate our present, and dream our future. This is your church. Here we are home. Here we are whole. Let us begin. Please sit with us in stillness, letting everything else go, and just be with your community.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Bradley, and I'm your service leader today. Part of our community's vision for pursuing justice is exploring the complex needs for equity and fairness play into community building, both within our church and outside of it. We light the chalice, a symbol of our community gathering, to renew our commitment to creating a place where we all belong. Today, we invite you to come help us with our chalice lighting. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. When we think about what equity means to us locally, we have a helpful community resource in the work of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance. Existing informally since 2015, the DEI Alliance works to help our region attract and retain a diverse workforce for our region by shifting the culture towards being a more welcoming group for people of all types. They do this through business support and education. Part of their education efforts include the production of a video series called I Belong that features diverse faces and experiences who are proudly part of our world here in East Tennessee. These videos challenge the monochromatic, stereotyped images of our region, and so we will be sharing a few of these brief videos throughout the service with permission from the DEI Alliance.
My name is Jacqueline L. Knopflin. I'm from Bristol, Virginia. I'm pastor of Household of Faith Community Church in Bristol. It's the way you treat people and the way you've been treated is how people are able to adapt. You either adapt to that treatment or you stand up and you have a voice. But when you find that few, that handful, and you can really just look at one another as brothers and sisters or just people in general. No hatred, just people. When we find those common grounds, we ought to be able to share it with someone else that this hatred is not going to last because love does conquer all. My name is Jackie Knopflin. I belong.
Good morning. It's so good to see so many bright faces this morning. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about fairness. So I'm going to start by asking, has anything unfair ever happened to you? Would you like to raise your hand if something unfair has ever happened to you? No, it has to me. What about y'all? You ever experienced unfairness? Yeah, that's just about everyone. So we seem to know if something's unfair because we've experienced it, right? Would anyone here down front want to tell me about what the word fair means to you?
Fair means both have an equal amount.
fair means having equal amounts for something. Maybe if we have to like share with a sibling or a cousin, it's fair if we get equal amounts. Yeah? Okay. Anyone else have thoughts about the word fair? I think that's a pretty good starting place. So here's another question, and it kind of touches on what you said. Is fair always the same thing as equal? Is equal always fair? That's a hard question. And so rather than making you answer that, I just want you to think about if equal is always fair. Because we're going to try something that's going to help you understand this idea better. I have 3 volunteers that are going to help me. Can my volunteers come up and stand over here by this table? All right. These are our 3 volunteers today. I'm going to ask if you all are noticing something about them, then good for you. So I'm going to ask each of you to do something for me, and I'm going to treat all 3 of you equally as we do it. There's an ornament right here hanging up by this window. Don, can you go get that ornament for me?
Absolutely.
Awesome. You can put it back now. Sarah, can you get that ornament for me? All right, tiptoes, but you got it. All right, thank you. Young lady, can you go get that ornament for me? It's not happening, is it? All right, thank you for trying. You can come on back over here. So, how was that experience for you, Don?
Very simple.
Very simple. How was that experience for you, Sarah?
A little bit harder. I just stand on my tiptoes.
But you got it.
But I got it.
All right.
I got this.
How was that experience for you? Hard. Yes, it was. So you 3, did I treat all 3 of you equally? Equally? Yes. Yes, you got the same amount of help for this, right? Did I treat everyone fairly? No, I didn't. What's the difference, you guys? Does anyone want to answer what's the difference? Yes.
They're smaller. Some people are smaller.
Some people are smaller, right? So some people might need help if it's about something higher up. So how could we make this more fair?
If you're shorter, give them more help, and if they're depending on what you're doing, if you're taller, don't give them any help.
So if they're shorter, they might need some more help, basically. Yeah, that's good. So what if we had something to help our smallest friend get a little taller for the ornament, just for now? I think Dad's ready to help her out. Go on over. While holding another child. That's a parenting win right there. So what do you say? Was it much better that time? Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we just need a little help, don't we? So it turns out that equal is not the same as fair in this circumstance and sometimes in other circumstances too. Equality is often a very good thing when we talk about people having equal rights or having equal worth and dignity. Equality is really, really good there, right? But as we saw, sometimes fairness is a little different from equality. Fair doesn't mean that we get the exact same thing that everyone else has all the time. Fair sometimes means that we go beyond what looks equal and instead ask questions to find out what a person really needs, and sometimes what they really need is a step stool, right? That sort of fairness, which some people call equity, is important because it reminds us that we all have different starting points and we all have different needs. Part of being a community is paying attention to those things and providing ways to be fairer whenever we can. So this is a really big concept. I thank you all for listening, and I just want you to pay attention this week to see where ideas of fairness come up in your life. So thanks for asking big questions with me. A big round of applause to our helpers. And you all can go back to your seats now. Thank you.
I'm Justin Hall. I'm from Bristol, Virginia, and I identify as gay. When I realized that Bristol still had not moved in the direction that I thought it should, I came back to Bristol to try to make a positive impact. There's always room to grow. There's definitely room to grow around here. I hope to see a lot more diversity, obviously. A lot more people getting more involved in the community, especially the younger people. There's someone out there for you, an organization maybe, or maybe a church or some sort. But we're out there. You just got to find us and just stick with us because the area is changing and hopefully it's going to change for the better. Justin Hall and I Belong.
When singer-songwriter Mac Davis was growing up in the 1940s, he had a friendship that got him curious about equity, even if he never used that word. He told Tennessean Magazine, "I grew up with a little kid whose daddy worked with my daddy, and he was a black kid. We were good buddies, 5 or 6 years old. I remember him being one of my very best buddies. But he lived in a part of town, and I couldn't figure out why they had to live where they lived, and we got to live where we got to live." Mac Davis's struggles with the unfairness that he perceived as a small child evolved into his observations of the vicious cycle of poverty and racism that led him to write the song popularized by Elvis Presley, "In the Ghetto." Mac Davis says, "The word ghetto was just becoming popular to describe the parts of urban areas where people were living and couldn't get out. They were stuck there, and everybody took off to the suburbs." While the word ghetto has fallen out of popular usage, the imagery of people being placed somewhere out of sight to be forgotten about, cut off from services and support, is a tragic and a powerful image. It highlights how we don't all get to start at the same starting place in the journey of life, and hopefully it strengthens our commitment to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities.
As a snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, another little baby child is born in the ghetto.
In the ghetto.
And his mama cries. 'Cause if there's one thing that she don't need, it's another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto.
In the ghetto.
People, don't you understand? The child needs a helping hand, or he'll grow to be an angry young man someday. Well, take a look at you and me. Are we too blind to see? Or do we simply turn our heads and look the other way? Well, the world turns, and a hungry little boy with a runny nose, he plays in the streets as the cold wind blows in the ghetto.
In the ghetto.
And his hunger burns. So So he starts to roam the streets at night, and he learns how to steal, and he learns how to fight in the ghetto.
In the ghetto.
Then one night in desperation, a young man breaks away. He buys a gun and he steals a car and he tries to run, but he don't get far, and his mama cries. As a crowd gathers round, an angry young man face down in the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto.
In the ghetto.
And as a young man dies
In the ghetto.
on a cold and gray Chicago morning, another little baby child is born in the ghetto.
In the ghetto.
And his mama cries.
In the ghetto. In the ghetto.
With our hearts bent toward justice, equity, and fairness for people throughout the world, we enter this ritual of joys and sorrows not just for us, but for the wide web of connections that we share. If you wish to light a candle, if you wish to shine a light on your journey, you can share a joy or a sorrow in person by using the candle cards that are located on the back table. And if you'd like to share a joy or a concern from a distance, you can email me at minister@hvuuc.org. No one turned in a candles card today, but I want to tell you that I'm really thinking very hard about all the children who were highlighted in that song and what it must be like to be struggling to survive from day one. Thank you for sharing that with us. If you wish to light your own candle, approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keeper will assist you. Please light candles at the back of the table first so that no one has to reach over an open flame. And if you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I will light a candle for you. Hey, Bradley. And our community is so much larger than just those of us who are in the building this morning. And so we light a candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts. Thank you. I will take it from here. And we light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Jason Flack, born and raised Johnson City. I'm a local artist. I am biracial by day and night. I've been in rooms with some, even recently, people that they just get it. Now, 10 years ago, I've been in those same rooms and they just did not get it. But I'm in love with what you can uncover some things with Johnson City pulls back that rock and you see all the diverse things that's kind of been under it. Johnson City has enough room in it for people to be like that as well, to like change that mindset of just be grateful. Because I am absolutely grateful, but I am absolutely ambitious. And so around here, I grew up here. I know I have stories on every road, but also I still rub people the wrong way because you're not supposed to be outwardly ambitious. You're supposed to come from out of town and be that way. If you're from here, you're not supposed to be that way. And I refuse to bend for that. My name is Jason Flack, and I certainly do belong.
Of these I Belong videos is pretty clear. Appalachia is not what you think it is. Jackie Knopfin belongs. Justin Hall belongs. Jason Flack belongs. And even I belong. I'm an Appalachian. It's something I'm really proud to say. It's true that I wasn't born here. I was actually born in Australia, subject to the life of a military brat. But to say that I'm Australian when I haven't been there since I was 1 doesn't really make sense. But Dad grew up in Kingsport and couldn't imagine retiring anywhere but these mountains that he loved. I grew up hearing East Tennessee Civil War stories. He loved those. And watching The Last of the Mohicans with Dad, where he would tell me about the various sites in Appalachia where the movie was filmed. It's beautiful, you guys. My summers were spent collecting tadpoles and naming calves at Grandma and Grandpa's farm in Hidden Valley, just a few miles from here. And a handful of years here as an adult has confirmed my suspicions about myself. I am Appalachian. I belong. This is my home. Last I checked, there wasn't a creed to subscribe to or a benchmark trial period you had to fulfill to officially be declared Appalachian. Some folks in the hollers might disagree with me, but I'm sticking to it. So I ask you to self-identify. If you see yourself as Appalachian, if you believe you belong here, raise your hand for me. All right, so honestly, that's more hands than I expected. I know that many of us here are transplants, but sometimes you get here and the mountains just claim you and you're home. Others of you have grown up here and want to make sure, like Jason Flack, that you are seen and known here as a native who has been held by Mother Appalachia since birth. We belong. And yet, there are others who seek to define the people of this region in a way that squeezes them into a very narrow narrative and squeezes the rest of us out. Elizabeth Cates' 2018 book, What You're Getting Wrong About Appalachia, intentionally takes apart the premise and prejudices of J.D. Vance's stereotype-laden book, Hillbilly Elegy, and reminds us that the people of this region have always been strong in labor, liberation, and economic justice. She reminds us that redneck was a title for the first activists of this area before the word was intentionally redefined. I hear that we have some OG rednecks in the house today. And Samantha Allen's Johnson City chapter of Real Queer America, LGBT Stories from Red States, reminds us of the Tri-Cities' proud past and present when it comes to LGBT inclusion. We belong. There's a little bit of a struggle here. We have people trying to define who belongs here in East Tennessee very narrowly. And then we have some people like the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance of the Tri-Cities working to expand our understanding of who belongs here, including those in the videos who have always been here. Redefining words, people, and places has been a tactic used by all sides of people engaged in ideological struggles for as long as I can remember. With language, it gets especially interesting. I remember encountering this tactic for the first time when I was in high school English class reading George Orwell's 1984. Here's a direct quote from the book. The ministry of peace concerns itself with war, the ministry of truth with lies, the ministry of love with torture, and the ministry of plenty with starvation. These contradictions are not accidental, nor do they result from ordinary hypocrisy. They are deliberate exercises in doublethink. The reshaping of words is a powerful tool, not a good or an evil tool, but just a tool. And we have seen this tool's power with the word that is our focal point today, equity. Stephen Sawchuk explores the transformation of this word in his 2022 Education Week essay titled, When Did Equity Become a Trigger Word? Sawchuk interviews Reverend Joseph Cousins, an African Methodist Episcopal minister in Georgia, who says, to me, equity means fairness, compassion, goodness, honesty, decency. Reverend Cousins is perplexed about how, quote, equity has suddenly become a code word for scary sounding things, race-related trainings, quotas, and Marxist theory. It's just like 1984's fictitious Ministry of Truth is involved, redefining words to make them scary, to manipulate people's emotional reactions. And it has worked to a certain degree. This summer, the Society for Human Resource Management decided to drop the equity from diversity, equity, and inclusion, saying that equity is divisive. Divisive is another one of those keywords you should listen out for sometimes. Equity really has become one of the new boogeymen of fear-based societal manipulations. And equity is too important to let the definition of this word become so twisted. It's a key part of Unitarian Universalist values, which connects the inherent dignity and worthiness of every person to a calling to work toward creating fair opportunities for all people through being intentional about equity. Our second principle calls for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. It turns out that equity is an essential part of how Unitarian Universalists want to relate to the world around us. So what exactly do we mean by it? Gallup defines equity as fair treatment, access, and advancement for each person in an organization. Harvard Business Review says, at its core, equity is about fairness. Fair process often results in redistribution of outcomes because more people get opportunities to succeed. More people can reach the ornament hanging on the window. Essentially, equity is when we adjust our practices to make it possible for even the shortest person to reach the ornament. Sometimes equity is a step stool. Sometimes equity is assistive listening devices, wheelchair ramps, and glasses. Sometimes equity is taking a good look at hiring practices and promotion practices to see what we can do about unconscious biases present in the system. And sometimes equity is giving school children free lunches because no one is going to get a good test score when they are starving. At this summer's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance conference in Kingsport, we got the chance to learn about equity practices from Calvin Butler, the CEO of Exelon. He shared that he made equity a priority in his work environment way before he was ever the CEO. He would simply, without there being any mandate or instructions, just seek out a diverse team and treat everyone with respect. And as a result, his team ended up always being one of the top performers, which is how he ended up being CEO. He proved that a mind toward equity breeds success. So then when he became CEO, he said to his managers at Exelon, I'm not going to tell you who to hire, but I am going to require that the hiring panel be diverse and that the slate of candidates be diverse. And that in order to do that, we need to look beyond the colleges that we have always sent our recruiters to. He told us that diversity was the outcome, but equity was the road to get there. Ryan Pendle, a writer for Gallup, agrees in his article, Workplace Equity, Why the E in DEI Matters. He says, your diversity problem may be an equity problem. Organizations struggling to retain and promote diverse candidates may need to be more proactive about investing in training, mentoring, or networking, making connections for historically marginalized groups. If organizations want a more diverse executive team, they may need to start leadership development programs earlier and support historically underrepresented groups to give them the relationships and experiences necessary for success. This may even precede selection into a leadership program, starting with daily feedback, coaching, and mentorship or sponsorship. He also says, your inclusion problem may be an equity problem. Respect is the foundation of inclusion. If people do not feel respected, they don't feel like they belong. Equity, fairness, is innately tied to respect. Unfair pay practices, promotions, or recognition naturally create insiders and outsiders. As a result, trying to promote warmth, trust, and authenticity in an organization that feels structurally inequitable will inevitably fail and likely backfire. This is in large part why our local DEI Alliance is doing the work that it is. They have uncovered some statistics that make it clear how much this region cannot afford to ignore the importance of equity. Many local high school graduates leave this area after graduating, and it is draining our region of potential talent and slowly killing our economy and our future prospects. A survey of local high school graduates that have left this area showed that 70% of the people that left cited lack of diversity as one of their reasons for leaving. And we know that a diversity problem is an equity problem. And furthermore, recruiting talent into the area can be really challenging based on the stereotypes of this region, which is part of the motivation for the I Belong video series that we've been exploring today. There are many more I Belong video series if you want to go to the DEI Alliance of the Tri-Cities website. If we are going to survive and thrive and create situations for others that are walking alongside us so that they can thrive as well, then we really should heed the call to covenant, to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities, as the Unitarian Universalist Association's new values statement says. Today's exploration has been primarily one of definitions, which can be kind of dry, so thanks for sticking with me. We struggle to define equity in a way that keeps it from becoming yet another boogeyman for people advocating for regressive values. We work to define who Appalachians actually are. And I guess this means that our calling to reframe and redefine is going to happen in the context of difficult conversations. Whether it's saying, actually, I am an Appalachian, or it's asking, what's wrong with being intentional about fairness? These conversations can be difficult, but this summer's DEI conference provided 4 really helpful tips for having these conversations. First, prepare first. Create an open space in your heart and mind. Be prepared to listen actively and know what you mean to say before the conversation begins. Second, engage thoughtfully. Be transparent and honest. Focus on solutions and handle resistance with empathy. Third, act intentionally. If you've got some influence, then leverage those support systems. Model the inclusive behavior that you want to see and encourage continual learning for everybody. And finally, above all else, remain committed. The first difficult conversation will probably not yield the fruit you wish to see. And the first attempt to adopt more equitable practices will probably be more of a learning experience than a success. But we've got to keep trying. We build the beloved community through continual commitment. That's a lot to take away about equity, so if you can only bring 2 takeaways with you, let them be these. First, at its core, the conversation about equity is about the worth and dignity of every person. We here at Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church are already part of the solution in many ways. There are going to be people who need religious diversity and LGBT inclusion, and they are going to find it here. And maybe they'll decide to stay in the Tri-Cities, at least in part, because of our community. What a blessing to bless our wider community and be part of its transformation. And second, because we want everyone to thrive, because we see their worth, dignity, and true humanity, we must strive for actual fairness. Not equality that gives us exactly the same thing, regardless of our needs, but equity, which strives to make adjustments for the fact that we are all born at different starting points in the journey of life. Rabbi Zvi Friedman invites us to look at matters of equity and fairness through the eyes of a child. What is it that the child has to teach? The child naively believes that everything should be fair and everyone should be honest, that only good should prevail, that everybody should have what they want and there should be no pain or sadness. The child believes the world should be perfect and is outraged to discover that it is not. And the child is right.
Our chalice extinguishing is words from Dr. Barbara Alice Mann, professor of humanities and author of books on Jewish and Native American ethics. Westerners are fond of saying, life isn't fair. Then they end in the snide, triumphant, so get used to it. What a cruel, sadistic notion to revel in. What a terrible, patriarchal response to a child's budding sense of ethics. Announce to an Iroquois life isn't fair, and her response will be, then make it fair. All right, please rise with us, embody your spirit for our closing hymn, number 1064, Blue Boat Home.
Thank you so much for your generosity this week and every week. May justice lead us to the calling of this moment. May wonder meet us right where we're at. May we discover our collaborators and our companions, and may love guide us on our journey of transformation. Blessed be, amen, and go in peace.
Yay, church!